Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight. We're so pleased to be opening this exhibition, Sacred Space, a Brandywine Workshop and Archives print exhibition. And we're delighted you are here with us tonight to celebrate. Before we get to our conversation with our guest curator, Juanita Sunday, and her guest, Niko W. Okoro, I have a few thank yous to make and a few brief announcements. So bear with me. First, we want to invite you to come back next week to the museum on Thursday night for the opening of our other fall exhibition, Ink and Time, European Prints from the Wetmore Collection. The 5 p.m. lecture is unfortunately sold out, but it will be live streamed and recorded. There's space to watch the live stream downstairs in the museum, but we'd love to see you at the reception in Bellarmine Hall at 6 o'clock and come and see the exhibition. Turning now to the show opening this evening here in the Walsh Gallery, we're so very grateful to Allan Edmunds, the founder of the Brandywine Workshop and Archive, for helping the museum to become a satellite collection for their prints. When we met with Allan a few years ago and this process began, we promised him we would do an exhibition of the prints as soon as we possibly could, and we're very pleased to be opening that exhibition tonight. I'm delighted to say that more than half of the prints in this exhibition are from the museum's permanent collection and that satellite collection that we formed. And some of the people in this room this evening helped us to purchase these prints by contributing to our Black Art Fund. We're very grateful to you for your assistance in helping us in our ongoing project to diversify the museum's permanent collection. If anyone's feeling particularly generous this evening, all of the prints in the gallery that say they're on loan from Brandywine are actually available to purchase for the museum's collection, so feel free to speak to me if you would be interested in helping us with that. No pressure. I'd also like to thank the folks at Brandywine for so generously lending those 13 prints. Chosen by our guest curator, Juanita Sunday, for this exhibition, we are thrilled to have them hanging in our gallery. Michelle Parchment, the executive director of Brandywine, graciously helped facilitate the loan and further agreed to lend the works for 2 years so this exhibition could travel from here to the Hammonds House Museum in Atlanta, to Northern Illinois University Art Museum, and then to Brandywine itself. Huge thanks, as always, go to the fantastic museum team of Michelle DiMarzo, Megan Pacqua, and Heather Coleman for all of their work in helping to make this exhibition and tonight's opening a success. We'd also like to thank the team here at the Quick Center for the Arts, for all of their assistance with tonight's event. This talk is being live streamed and recorded and will soon be available on the museum's YouTube channel for your friends who missed it or if you'd like to revisit it. We have a packed program tonight and we will not have time for questions after the upcoming conversation. So please find Juanita or Niko in the lobby or in the gallery with any questions that may arise from their talk. When they're done speaking, the stage is going to be very quickly cleared, and we'd love to ask you to sit tight and enjoy a special 15-minute dance performance by Lauren Horn. After that, we invite you to the lobby for the reception and to the gallery for the exhibition. During the reception, at about 7:15, Iyaba Ibo Mandingo, whose sculpture is included in the exhibition along with the prints, will be doing a poetry reading in the gallery. Now it's my great pleasure to introduce Joshua Harkey to say a few brief words. Josh is a senior wealth advisor and senior vice president at M&T Bank Wilmington Trust, our corporate sponsor for this exhibition. Josh and his team at M&T Bank have been incredible to work with, and it's been amazing to partner with a sponsor that shares the same values of inclusivity, access, and excellence, and a commitment to serving our broader community. They believe in giving back, and we're so happy they've chosen to partner with us on this exhibition. Please join me in welcoming Josh Harkey.
Thank you, Carrie, and good evening, everyone. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm very humbled to be a part of this wonderful exhibition that we're launching tonight. Carrie talked about it. I want to continue talking about the partnership. I could not have picked more wonderful partners than Carrie and Marie-Laure and the staff at the Fairfield Art Museum. It's been an absolute joy to work with them. I met Carrie a few months ago and immediately fell in love with what they're doing in the community and at the art museum, and I wanted to understand how I could be a part of that, and so that led me here tonight. As we started deciding how we could become part of which exhibition, what to sponsor, I really wanted to make sure that we found a meaningful collaboration, something that could really capture the minds of folks within the community. And one of the core values of M&T Bank really is activating and supporting the local community by appreciating the uniqueness and diversity of those communities in which we bank. And so, doing some research, I went to the website of the Brandywine landing page, and right there in big bold letters it says, "We create space in the world for the authentic appreciation of artists of diverse backgrounds." And I said, done deal. That's the one that we're going to do. And so that leads us here today, and I just again wanted to say that I'm really humbled and excited to be a part of this wonderful organization, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and looking forward to meeting all of you later on tonight. So thank you.
All right, now without further ado, it is my great pleasure to introduce tonight's speakers, Juanita Sunday and Niko W. Okoro. Juanita Sunday, our guest curator for this exhibition, is an independent curator and cultural producer with a passion for Afrofuturism. With her background in digital media and design from the University of Connecticut School of Fine Arts, she bridges the gap between traditional and digital media to create immersive and thought-provoking experiences with a keen focus on amplifying Black narratives. Ms. Sunday has worked on various projects ranging from art festivals to exhibitions, and her expertise lies in creating dynamic experiences that engage and inspire audiences. She's dedicated to using her skills to uplift Black culture always. Juanita will be joined in conversation by Niko W. Okoro, an independent arts consultant, curator, educator, and writer based in New Haven. An advocate for artists of the global majority, she works across sectors to build equitable representation within the canons of modern and contemporary art and nurture reciprocity between artists, communities, and cultural institutions. Ms. Okoro has recently supported strategic initiatives at the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation, the Arizona State University Art Museum, the Association of Art Museum Curators, the Legacy Museum, the New Britain Museum of American Art, the University of Michigan Museum of Art. She's curated numerous exhibitions, and as an arts educator has served as a visiting critic at the Yale School of Art and as an adjunct professor at Brown University, Barnard College, and Hartford Art School. She's a regular contributor to arts publications and is the author of Museum Metamorphosis, Cultivating Change Through Cultural Citizenship, published in 2022. She served as inaugural executive director of Next Haven, director of public programs and community engagement at the Studio Museum in Harlem, curatorial director of Rush Arts Gallery, and curatorial assistant at the Studio Museum. Okoro holds a MA in creative and curatorial entrepreneurship from Goldsmiths, University of London, and a BA in art semiotics from Brown University. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Juanita Sunday and Niko Okoro.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. Before we get started with the discussion, just wanted to do some quick thank yous. So firstly, thank you to Carrie for having me curate this exhibition and for this opportunity. Alongside Duvian Montoya from the New York Art Space, who actually recommended me and connected me with Carrie. So I'm just super appreciative for this opportunity to be able to curate this show. And then also I just want to thank you, Niko, for being here and engaging in this conversation to talk about sacred space and what it means.
Yeah. Can I thank you for your work curating the exhibition and inviting me here? This is fun. We're in the same city, and this is the first time we're actually sharing a stage. So it feels nice to finally be in conversation around the things that we both care about. So yeah, thank you all for coming. I know there's plenty of stuff you can do on a Friday night. Happy to see you all here. So I think maybe because, I know what a guest curator is, we do this.
Yeah.
It's not a thing that makes perfect sense to other people.
Right.
If you could just talk through the role, but then also your connection to the museum and to the Brandywine Workshop.
Sure, yeah. So my role as a guest curator is to come into a space, museum in this instance, and to put together an exhibition, a show. And so this was actually a very interesting experience for me because this was the first time that I curated in this format. So normally I'm an independent curator. I'm not associated with any particular institution. So I curate shows based off of just invitations. So I've curated at universities or independently in non-traditional spaces. But the connection here for Fairfield University Art Museum, I was brought in through recommendation from Duvin Montoya of the Norwalk Art Space, which I am now a Corey Fellow, and we'll have a show there next year. And so, yeah, he recommended me, and I met with Carrie, and she told me about Brandywine. And so what I was able to do was select works from their collection, as well as get collections on loan from Brandywine. And so what that means is the museum has a selection of prints that they have in their permanent collection. And so I was able to look through those prints and come up with a theme for a show that really resonated with me. And then based off that theme, I was able to get more works on loan from the Brandywine Institution. And so I never curated a show in that format before.
Yeah.
So that was a really interesting experience and process to be able to do it that way.
And so in terms of, there's the three core themes of the exhibition, right, which are spirituality, ancestry, cultural memory. So are those themes that, you're looking at these objects across institutions that just jump out right away? Or did you kind of come to the show knowing that you were looking for those types of works? Like, what was the...
that's a great question. So no, when I was asked to do this exhibition, I didn't know what the theme would be yet until I looked at some of the prints. So Carrie had me come in, and they laid out some of the prints for me, and I was able to sort of go through them. And so again, I was thinking, like, how do I tie an exhibition together just based off of these prints that were given to me? And so the first piece that really jumped out to me was Portal by Martin Payton. And so, like, that was the piece that really kind of resonated and stuck with me. And so I think it was a combination of some things that sparked from looking at this piece, as well as history from my past work. And so, having curated, I think this is my 6th exhibition over the last 7 years, started to see some through lines from my past, shows. So I curated a show a few years ago called Reclaimed that focused on reclaiming African traditional religions, as well as Black American spirituality, such as hoodoo. So like that was something that I did a few years ago. And then I just came off of my 6th Dimension project. Which explored Afrofuturism and Black realities across time and space. And so just thinking about some of my past work and then, seeing this piece, Portal, that became the through line for me of how I could approach curating these other works. And so after just learning about this piece and starting to look through the other pieces, I started to see different connections and threads and things that, were important to me. And ancestral culture and knowledge are something that's very important. As long as you'll see a lot of themes of women and motherhood in some of the pieces. And so like that became the thread that I was like, oh, okay, I see how these pieces starting to like tell a story and connect to create a thematic show.
Yeah. And it's interesting to me, as both a person visiting the gallery, but as a curator, your decision to include local artists alongside these kind of more archival prints. Can you talk a little bit about how that fits into your ongoing exploration of the themes, but also why it felt important to kind of bring the present and perhaps even the future into the conversation?
Absolutely. So that was a aspect that was really important for me for this show, and I'm super grateful to Carrie, who was very open to all of the ideas that I had for this exhibition. And so including local artists is paramount to, I think, all the work that I do. And so as a community arts leader, I guess you would say, my work is very rooted in community. It's very rooted in the local. And so while I do and have worked with artists nationally and internationally, I think that local connection is something that's always really important to me. And then thinking about what's important to community, right? And so who's going to show up and who's going to be here and who this exhibition is for, I wanted to have that piece to tie in here as well. And then as you mentioned, thinking about the present and the future. So having artists that are very present in the here and now, as well as artists who may be in the Brandywine collection in the future, is something I would love to see. I thought that was an important connection as well. As we're looking at history, we're looking at our present and our future. I think having all those connections really helps tie the exhibition together, as well as create a show that's dynamic in terms of material and the types of artworks that are being presented.
Yeah, you can totally feel, I don't know if y'all have been into the space yet, but you can feel it as an energy or as like a dialogue across the pieces.
Right.
As opposed to feeling like you're looking at a history book, right? Like it feels like a living exhibition.
Exactly.
And I think that's, kudos to the choice that you made there. Yeah, so I'm just interested in, because you talk about spiritual connection in the essay, I think you've talked about it here.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, this is like maybe a political question, right?
Yeah.
But like why this exhibition right now? Like what does spiritual why is that important to things going on in the world today?
Yeah. So I think for me, and that was probably one of the questions I was like, ooh, that's a good one. I think for me, when we think about where we're at in the world today, right? There's a lot of destruction. There's a lot of pain right now across the world globally, and it can be very easy to get lost in that, to feel disconnected from the human experience, right? Yeah. And I think one of the things that ties us all together is spirituality in many different ways and shapes and forms that takes, right? And I think one of the things that's important to me is how art creates that human connection. And so that right now is something I think that we all need. In many shapes and forms that spirituality takes. So whether that's traditional religion, whether that is just how you connect to your neighbor, whether that's how you connect to your land, how you connect to your history or your culture, I think having that connection to spirit in some kind of way is what's absolutely needed right now in the times that we're in.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm just thinking through, so you talk in the essay also about the role of artists, not just as people who make beautiful or challenging objects, but as people who are cultural leaders, people who are asking questions that move culture in different directions. And so I'm just wondering if you can kind of talk about how you understand the role of artists, both in your exhibition, but also as people out in the world that are catalyzing change that you're also talking about through your exhibitions.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for me, the role of the artist, of good art for me, in my personal opinion, is art that questions and challenges and makes you feel something, right? And so, yes, art is aesthetic. We look at it for its beauty in many different ways, shapes, or form. But I think what's really important about it is the questions that it makes us ask. Internally about ourselves, introspection, as well as the world around us, right? And so I think the role of the artist is to spark those questions, to spark that dialogue, and hopefully be in rooms like we are right now to have conversations, right? This is the reason why we have artist talks. We don't just, put art up on the walls and then that's it, right? Yeah. We talk about it. We have these conversations. We connect to people through these pieces, and they become these mirrors, right, for reflection. both in the world around us and for ourselves. And so when I think about the role of the artist, there have always been the people in society that have been leaders in social movements, right? They're the ones that are painting it, are writing it, are capturing it in so many different ways, and ultimately moving social discourse forward. And so that's what I see as the role of the artist in society.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting too to kind of like pull focus out a bit from, there's the visual artists that are in the exhibition.
Yeah.
But you've also helped design and develop a whole kind of robust programming suite, some of which we'll experience tonight. So dance, poetry, but then just talking through many forms of art and how it shows up, right? And so my sense is that you approach that as a curator, right?
Yeah.
Like with art in mind, but also understanding and expanding the definition of artists. Can you just talk a bit about the programming kind of side of things in general, but also specific to this exhibition?
I think so for me, when I approach curating a show, I do like to think about the different types of arts that are going to be presented in the way that the viewer is going to be able to experience the concepts of the show, right? And so we all learn and absorb things differently. You know, some of us are very visual. You know, we're able to really look at a piece and connect to it. Many of us are auditory, like poetry, hearing something can really spark that connection for us, or performance, you know, dance. So whenever I have the opportunity to create a show, I like to have those different touch points that can connect to people in different ways. For some of you tonight, it may be the dance performance that really ties it together for you. It may be the poetry that we hear later from Iyaba Mandingo that really sparks something. Or maybe it's the interactive altar piece that was created by Arvia in the show. And so if there's ways that people can touch something, that can listen to something, there's a playlist that goes with the exhibition. I like to have those different modalities for people to be able to connect to the exhibition and hopefully take something away from it.
Yeah, that really speaks to me because I think about how I see art most often.
Yeah.
And it's usually with my husband, who's a chemist, my child, who's a child, or like my parents that have no idea what I do, right?
Yeah.
And so, and I love that because we each find a different piece in the exhibition that's like our piece, right? Yeah, and I always just find it so interesting that like people can come from totally different backgrounds, can find their own way into an exhibition without, you know, this, right? Like this is beautiful and important, and art history is, you know, this.
Yeah.
But also trusting your instincts in front of works of art is something that really does have to be like thought of. And I think for me, that's the role of a curator.
And I'm glad you said that too, trusting your instincts. There's so many people, and one of the reasons why I got into this work in curating is to make exhibitions feel more welcoming to people, right? I know so many folks in my life before I started, you know, curating shows that never went to a gallery or museum or felt that art was for them or something that they could understand, right? That it was beyond, you know, beyond them, and that they had to like understand the piece, you know, in some kind of way. I'm like, no, you just have to connect to it. And be with it. And, you know, artists may make a piece of work and have an intention behind it, but that intention doesn't have to be what you take away from it. You know, we all connect to it, and we all pull out different things that we can see in a piece. And so I think that's really important. And so, exactly what you said.
Totally. Yeah. And that's what I love too about the title of the exhibition, because I think, you know, it means so many different things to different people and different cultures. And just the idea of holding space in general, right? Like I think it's just interesting to me that you, as a container, you have this really kind of open concept, but then inside of it you have such clear sub-themes of exploration that you can literally see, like, as you walk through the exhibition. So yeah, that was like just a fun thing. Maybe if you could just talk a little bit about your, like, the research process, because this feels, you know, it says archival is like in the title, right? So you're working with archives, you're working across state lines. Like literally, what did it look like to put the show together?
Yeah. So yeah, the process started with, as I mentioned, coming here to the museum to physically look at some of the pieces. So all of these works are available online for folks to see, and so I was able to like go through that. But I think that process of like physically being able to see the pieces really helped bring that together. And then, as you mentioned, this is part of an archive. And so I was able to then start reading about, you know, each piece and doing that research aspect on the Brandywine website, which was very, very helpful. Because as I mentioned, I can look at a piece and feel where I'm like, oh, this is what I think the artist is going with this or trying to say. But I didn't want to assign meaning to many of these different pieces. So the research aspect came in terms of like, okay, are these themes that I'm seeing, are they actually, you know, connected based off of what the artist was intending, as well as doing some research on the artist's cultural background. So all of the works presented are from African or Afro-diasporic artists, as well as indigenous artists, so from across the global diaspora. So Panamanian artists represented, artists from Zimbabwe, Black American artists, West Antigua artists. So like I wanted to capture that global diaspora as well in the work. So doing that research, and this was the first time I've had to write a catalog essay as well. So that was
It's really good.
Yeah,
Read it. It's really good.
nerve-wracking kind of piece of this for me, in terms of like really going into a bit more research than I've done in my past shows. Because as I mentioned, I am not a trained curator. I don't have a degree in art history or study this in any kind of formal way. I studied digital media and interactive media in school, and just happened to get a job at an art gallery after I graduated, and really fell in love with being able to work with artists and to put together shows. And so I've been figuring out this process over these last few years independently. And so this is my first time, you know, working with an institution, working with a museum. And so just learning the process and how different that is, as well as being able to tap into doing a bit more research and writing a catalog essay for the show, which was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, right? So I don't think we have that much more time, but I'm just curious if there's anything else that you want people to know about this exhibition, about what they're going to see, about the programming. This is like your time to plug something.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really excited for you all to be able to step into the space. You know, exactly what the title is, Sacred Space. I wanted to create this feeling of communion, of something sacred as you walk in. And so really just take time with the pieces and be with them. There's an interactive altarpiece that you are able to contribute to. So there's instructions on that. Feel free to contribute, you know, what feels right and feels good. Interact with the playlist. There's QR codes for that on there. And there will be more programming, as Carrie mentioned, coming up. In October, we have Arturo Lindsay, who will be doing an artist lecture. And then Arvia, who did the altar installation in the gallery, will be doing a workshop and discussion on the history of altar building in Afro-diasporic communities. So that should be really exciting. So I just really want folks to be able to feel welcome in the space and connect with it in that way. I guess there's one thing I will add. So my favorite sort of, I think, I don't know, piece, but area that I curated in the exhibition is the wall that's straight ahead. And I just want to mention this because I think it's really interesting, the pieces that are laid out there. So in the center, you'll see a portal, but it's anchored by some pieces on the outside. And so let me just grab my catalog.
Yeah.
I don't forget these names. And so the pieces on the outside are these jackets that you'll see. and they represent the Middle Passage. And so those pieces, just give me one second. Can you remind me of the name? Janet?
Taylor Pickett?
Yes. So Janet Taylor Pickett, those two pieces with the jackets, you'll see if you look very closely, there are depictions of the slave ships that passed through the Middle Passage. And so those pieces are on the outside. And then on the inside of those pieces are pieces from Arturo Lindsay. And so those pieces represent boys, young men that were lost, former enslaved people through the Middle Passage, right? And that's his way of sort of honoring those people lost through that. And then on the inside of those pieces, you'll see Portal by Martin Payton and Martina Johnson, her piece right underneath that. And so for me, that's really an interesting connection when we're talking about time and history.
Yeah.
So you have these pieces representing the Middle Passage. You have the pieces inside representing the people lost on that. And then I feel like the pieces in the middle sort of brings it back to home, right? To West Africa, to the center. Yeah. And so like, I think that wall, the way that came together, which wasn't my original idea of how to lay those pieces out, really clicked for me when I saw how the through line between those pieces and how those connect. So just take a look at those and pay close attention.
Yeah. Awesome. So I think that's us.
I think that's us.
Yes. Thank you.
And yes, please don't be shy. Feel free to, if you have any questions during the reception, I would love to talk with you or just say hello and meet you. And so I hope you enjoyed the discussion, and please stay tuned for the performance coming up from Lauren Horn.
vivid dreams. And I've had them since I was a child. Every morning I'd wake up and I'd run to my mom to recount what I did. I was always going places. I was always being things that were big. I was usually in a chase she liked it. She liked that I could remember all the places I've been. She liked that I had travel in me. But as I got older, the dreams changed. I changed. I became different things. One night, I had the same dream 3 times in a row. In the dream, I went into the body of a tree. And the tree felt like a portal. It felt like a place I had never been before, but in such a way that I couldn't see anything. When all your dreams see everything. Their dreams. Everyone else feels things. You know, the type of feeling that happens in your body when your mom calls you up right as you think about her. Like when my mom's ankle hurt at the same exact time as my grandma, they feel things, but to dream broadly and wildly is my gift. And I wonder why. I've been trying to figure it out. I'm the first one born here. My mother was born in Jamaica, and her mother before in Cuba. But I was born here in Connecticut. And I'm the first one with a chance to just do what I want. And maybe that's why my dreams are so big and wonderful. Or maybe that's the easy way out. My first dream came true. I'd been there before. This room with my mother. We'd been here together. And as I sat on the couch, I remembered what happened. I remembered, for once, I was myself, as I am now, in this dream. Because it's rare. It's rare I exist as myself as you see me now. One time, I had a dream. I had a dream I was somewhere else. Like, all dreams. But when I opened my eyes, I was awake. But I was dreaming. I was in a hut with a man who I believed to be my family. And I sat in his chair, and he told me a story. He told me a story. wasn't sure if I did. When I first heard it, it was quiet. It was more, it was less. It was the most beautiful story. I was frightened. It was a lot. I wish I could tell it to you the way he told it. I wish you could have seen him. I wish you could have loved him. I wish you could have been there. I think he was a friend of my father. Come to see me. To see someone you love. If I were to tell you my dreams, would you believe me? Would they matter? Would you want to know the pieces in between, the gaps in my knowledge? Would you like to help me fill them? Fill them with love and with want. Fill them with knowledge and power. Would you want to help? Or are the gaps important to this story, to your story, to how you choose to see me? Would you lay them to rest with me? Would you trust me to hold yours? Would you forget what is mine and what is yours? Or do you know the secret?